Welcome to the January 28th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Kevin Lynch, president of the club. Past president Boz Todd, who many of you knew, passed away on January 22nd. He joined the club in June of 1968, and he served as the club president in 1999 to 2000, one of the best darn presidents ever, by the way. He was a Paul Harris Fellow and a charter member of the 1912 Society, created to recognize those who do whose estate planning included a gift to Rotary. He received the 2015-2016 Lifetime Service Award, which is really the biggest award we give. For many years, Paul delivered a very popular annual address to our club, forecasting economic trends. He had a tremendous impact in the mental health space also. Please take a few minutes to read his obituary and/or yesterday's article in Business First. The celebratory visitation will be held tomorrow, January 26th, from 5 to 7 at the River Valley Country Club on 4701 River Road. Please join me in a moment of silence for Ben. Ben lived quite a life, and everybody that knows the guy said what a great person he was. Now to lead us in the invocation is Susan Abandon, agent donor, Paul Harris Society member, and vice chair of the Service Projects and Grants Committee. Susan.
Thank you, President Kevin. Let us pause and reflect. Many years ago, a wise man named Hillel advised that we ask 3 questions. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, then what am I? And if not now, when? Years later, 2 other wise souls who walked among us counseled further. The Reverend Martin Luther King taught us that hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And the sainted Mother Teresa added that while we may not all do great things, we can do small things with great love. So this day, Rotarians, in the spirit of the late Rotarians Boz Todd and Ben Richmond, let us commit through our service, through our love of others, to making this Louisville, this Kentucky, this world, just a little better than we found it. Amen.
Thank you, Susan. Lead us in the pledge before we test is Amy Luttrell, President and CEO of Kentucky Goodwill, or Goodwill Industries of Kentucky, I should say. Major donor level 2, Paul Harris Society member and chair of the Rotary Foundation Committee.
Thank you, Kevin. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Let's say this like we mean it. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Now it's time to introduce your guest, so introduce yourself first and then introduce your guest, name, title, and organization. So time out, folks, we're going to guest being introduced here. Between lights.
I'm almost a guest. It's been a little while since I've been here. But, honored to be back. I'm honored to introduce my guest. First of all, my brother, Bill Grossman, who is a esteemed attorney in town, best attorney in town, as far as I know. I'm very proud to introduce Arnold Zegart. You can see in Arnold and his wife Carol. So you might notice his last name is Zegart, and Shelly's last name is Zegart. So there's a connection there. Arnold and Kenny are brothers, and Arnold and Kenny were my mom's first cousins. So just a little bit about Arnold. He owned Zegart Drugs. There's some folks here that are old enough to remember Zegart Drugs. They were in business from 1935 to 1992 at 7th and O Street. And he just told me this morning he had one very famous customer you might have heard of. His name was Colonel Sanders.
President Kevin, this is David Graves and his wife of almost 50 years. We'll celebrate our anniversary in August. Marcus Graves.
President Kevin, I'm Stephen Solon. I'm a relatively new Rotarian. I work here at the University of Louisville, the College of Business, and I'd like to introduce Charlie Cobb. Charlie is one of our alumni from our MBA program. He is also a man about town. He is someone who really likes to get involved in the community, so I don't know what else to say about how awesome he is as an MBA from the College of Business. But I do know that he's very involved in organizations like the White House. So he's someone who cares about the community, bringing people together, and I'm trying to help recruit him into our community here to bring people together that way as well. He works at SDS, which is a gift card company, I'm told. He's much smarter than myself, so if you want to know more about that, you'll have to check him out. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a guest here, B.A. Polipelli. He's executive with KMB. I'm sorry, HMB, excuse me, engineer. He's an engineer, good engineer, Charlie. And Craig Sherman normally does the discussion about, with guests about what we do with Rotary. Over in the corner there, we're going to have a substitute, Jay Mallory, and Jay's going to do a good job filling in. So any guests afterwards, go to the table in the corner that's right now, actually. By the way, you mentioned Colonel Sanders. Shelly Zegart, the speaker today, will appreciate this because she remembers it. When Mikhail Gorbachev spoke to the World Affairs Council at the Kentucky Center, we always ask somebody, they used to always ask the guest, the speaker, these are high-level folks, we're getting $50,000. What do they want for dinner from any restaurant in town, some nice restaurants, boom. He picked the KFC. And Yum then arranged to have the best copy of Colonel Sanders flown down from Minneapolis to deliver KFC fried chicken to his room at the Marriott. True story. Congrats to some of this is Rotarians in the news. Congrats to Sarah Devonshire Wisdom, President-elect Lori Flannery, Maggie Harlow, and Cynthia Napek for being selected as mentors for Business First 11th Annual Mentoring Monday on February 26th. Congratulations also to Sarah again and the entire GLI team on a fantastic annual dinner event with over 1,100 members. That's kind of the movers and shakers of the city. It's really a great event. Our club is represented well, and Rotarians at every turn, basically. Mike Mountjoy got the biggest award given by GLI, really the biggest award in our city, in my opinion. It's not given every year, it's given less than annually, kind of as deserved. And he was awarded that by the GLI's magazine called the Gold Cup, which represents a lifetime of service, making Great Louisville a better place to live and to work. Also want to mention a couple of upcoming social events. We'll be back at the Kentucky Opera on Sunday, February 18th, for the matinee performance of the Pirates of Penzance. We hope to have a backstage tour as well, which will be kind of nice. Join us for a Valentine's Day night, or just treat yourself to an evening of Rotarians for our Cooking at Millie's social event on Tuesday, February 20th. And I'm happy to announce that we will once again host Rotary Day at the Downs. The date is now set, 150th Derby Week, don't forget, Derby year, don't forget. The date's now set for Wednesday, May 1st, will be in the Silks balcony area overlooking the new paddock. And look for details of registration of the weekly sparks on our website. I'd like to welcome back to the podium Amy Luttrell, Rotary Foundation Committee Chair, for a special presentation.
Thank you, President Kevin. So Paul Harris Fellow is the recognition that we give to Rotarians who've given at least $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation. And if you get confused between the foundation and the fund, the Rotary Foundation is Rotary International's philanthropic arm. And that $1,000 does not have to be all at once. It can be given in $100 a year over whatever period of time you want to do that. So some people say they would rather give to the local fund than the Rotary International, and you can do both. We invite you to do both, but when we do give to the foundation, we then become a part of things that are much bigger than we can do at a local level, even in our club, as large as it is. Many of those projects are international. In fact, Rick and Mary Ellen Harnett are in El Salvador right now in connection with one of those international projects. We've supported education, moms and children, and then eradicating disease. And many of you know my pet project is Polio Plus. To finish that job, we've got 2 more countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan, to totally eradicate the disease from the world and keep us all safe. But also, some of our dollars that we give to the Rotary Foundation come back here locally in the form of district grants. And right now, we're doing a project with Habitat for Humanity that's being partly funded by money from one of those district grants. So you do, when you give to the foundation, you're supporting projects internationally, nationally, and locally. By the way, all of us who had not yet given to the foundation in this Rotary year got an invoice from Delene in late December, and we really appreciate her doing that, and a lot of you took advantage to that. Now, our goal here is not to make it feel less like a gift. I know when I say invoice, it doesn't really sound like a gift, but our goal really is just to make it easier, because we know that's a great benefit. The easier we can make it for Rotarians to give, the more of them are going to give. So that's why we did that, and if you missed that email and you haven't given yet, another one is going to come out in late February, so look for that. Or if Delene has ability, by your authorization, to bill your credit card for your dues, and you ask her to make your gift that way, that's another easy way that you can do it. So we had a great response, and we really appreciate all of you who gave. And now, if you are a Paul Harris Fellow, would you please stand and remain standing for a couple minutes? So today, we have the pleasure of recognizing 2 Paul Harris Fellows, and these are gentlemen who are at multiple levels. I want to invite Jerry Martin, who's the VP of River Hill Capital LLC. Jerry is now a Paul Harris Level 3. Give him a hand. And then we have a second recognition, so I'll invite Dr. Harry Stevenson to come. Here he comes. So I already have a correction to make. Jerry is a Paul Harris Level 4.
That was pretty quick,
Slip us a check right up here. And Dr. Harry is a Paul Harris Level 3. So for both of you, you're a great example of the Rotary motto, service among self. And we really appreciate your gifts. And we have an extra thing for you. Our speaker today, we got a little extra bonus for you guys today. Our speaker today, Kentucky for the World, gave us 2 decks of branded playing cards.
We went to the game, I'll make more money and give it away, okay?
For each of you. All right, thank you so much for giving, and give him one more hand, please.
Just a background of today's speaker is Shelly, a good friend actually. This is some of her short bios. She's got a lot longer bios, by the way. We don't have time for that, unfortunately. She's the founder, president, and CEO of Kentucky to the World. I'm familiar, maybe you've been to that great speaker series. A nonprofit solely focused on elevating the intellectual and cultural reputation of Kentucky. She's a collector, curator, author, and lecturer on antique and contemporary quilts. Her 9-part documentary, Why Quilts Matter, History and Art Politics, has aired on more than 250 PBS stations and is streaming on Kentucky Education KT and Folkstreams. She's an active community leader, has taken part in Leadership Louisville, as well as been named Senate Women and Families Woman of Distinction. In 2020, she received the Governor Award in the Arts for her decades of work with quilts. And before I met Shelly, I was on a board, and Ben Jones, the executive director, said, Shelly, Zegart is going to be a board member. I said, she's going to be a good board member. He raved about how she's very persistent, great lady, and gets things done. An example of that, a couple of years later, she reached out to me and wanted to go to a couple of nonprofits and talk about whether they could help her really, because she was starting to this idea of having speakers from Kentucky, which became Kentucky in the World. But they were too busy, they couldn't help them, so it was too bad. And Shelly said, it's not too bad, I'm going to do this. And she did it on her own. She got help from other people, of course, but without Shelly, it never would have happened. You don't say no to Shelly. If you do, it's going to get done anyway, so don't bother. But she also I went to a tremendous exhibit at the Speed Museum years ago. She's one of the world experts on quilts, and it's really amazing. Very diverse kind of human being, and I really appreciate her speaking with us too. Thanks, Shelly.
To present. She needs to laugh. Okay. I'll get the hang of it before we're done, for sure. For letting me present Kentucky to the world to you. I want to introduce Tommy Johns, who's here in this wonderful jacket, who is our Director of Strategic Planning and Documentary Film for Kentucky to the World. I want to ask you all, how many of you know anything at all about Kentucky to the world? Would you raise your hands? See, we have a lot to get into our loop, right? We need a lot more of you to know about Kentucky to the world. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit first because I want to tell you about where the idea came from. So where did this idea come from? I got a call one night from our daughter, who is a national security guru, and was doing a talk at the Pacific Council on Foreign Relations, and it was for all these hooty-tooty professors and, Nobel Prize winners and stuff. And the first Q&A was, a man stood up, African-American, and said, Amy Zegart, I grew up a block from your grandfather's drugstore at 7th and Oak in Louisville. It wasn't about all their bona fides, it was about his connection to Kentucky. He was Rick Smith, he's passed away. He graduated from Atherton High School, and he was one of the world's most well-known and respected international amnesty attorneys. And he also taught at USC. Well, I got goosebumps, right? I'm thinking, wow, this connection to Kentucky, that's really amazing. So then Amy went on, and she moved to Stanford, and that's where she is now. And she has a nuclear arms role play that she does. This was right at the time of the last treaty, okay? And so one of her colleagues said, Amy, I've got the perfect person to moderate your role play. This is a several-day role play with students. And didn't know who it was. 6 months later, walk in the room, and they are talking Derby in 5 minutes. It's Ambassador Tom Graham, who went to Male High School, grew up in Louisville, and I have to read this part. He went to Male, he had been involved in negotiations of every single international arms control and non-proliferation agreements from 1970 to 1999. Well, who would have thought? I got more goosebumps, and I said, we need to present these kinds of people to a larger audience, to inspire our students, and to help to change the narrative of our state that we know is out there. We don't wear shoes and all that stuff. We know better, but most people don't. So we needed people in Kentucky and beyond. So the first slide, oops, I have to do this. So, origins. We were founded in 2013 with a mission to elevate the cultural and intellectual reputation of Kentucky on the global stage. We began as a live audience speaker series with the support of the Public Bank Foundation, still supporting us, by the way, and others, featuring individuals of excellence with strong Kentucky ties and have grown exponentially. We weren't really looking at people here that were living here, only because when I was starting to have, breakfast and things to talk about Kentucky to the world, they always wanted to be the same old people. So we thought, well, we'll just make it be people who don't live here now, but claim Kentucky. Now we're at Kentucky to the world and back again. So, so it all evolves. We started here having 3 live programs a year. And we started also with having a robust student program. Our daughter Amy, who was the one at Stanford, was doing a talk for the Pacific Council, for the Council of Foreign Relations. Oh no, it wasn't, it was, anyway, in LA, and they had a special student program for high school students from underserved areas. And what they would do is bring the students in prior to the program, and they would have private time to talk to the presenters themselves. How would you like to be in a room with the only living Nobel Prize winner as a student at one of our high schools? That's what our kids get to do. So our student program is about 100 young people from mostly underserved areas, or if there's something that's particularly a focus of that particular program, then we invite kids to come who want to meet that person who's the only living Nobel Prize winner we have in Kentucky. Since then, I have to read a little bit of this, you'll forgive. We have, our Kentucky story showcases how we lead the charge for narrative development that is vital to our state's economic and workforce future. So we're not just having speaker series so that you hear somebody great and you can talk about it, but now we're realizing how important the narrative is to the future of Kentucky. So we have hosted over 22 live events. You probably don't know many of them, and you're gonna find out what you missed in just a few minutes. Served more than 2,000 students from more than 70 schools and organizations, after-school programs, etc., at our student programs. Produced 3,000 of these extra playing cards, which are illustrated playing cards. Kentucky the World deals with live people, by the way. So that's another thing that we always have to be sure to tell you is that we're not, except that some of them pass away in the middle, right? So Bill Hooks, for example, is on one of our cards, which he unfortunately passed away, so we have to get a pass for that. If you are interested in the cards, we also have extended bios of everybody on our website, as well as 20 questions. So we're really excited about the cards. They've been used a lot for economic development out of the state with one of our major partners. And so we've developed 22 programs airing and streaming on KET and created hundreds of stories, engaged millions of times across all sorts of platforms. So how do we do this? This is a very small nonprofit. We are like, where's the upstairs, where's the elevator kind of thing? Because everybody who works with us is on contract. We have no full-time employees. If you want to count me, who does it all for nothing, right? I mean, that's a full-time employee unpaid, but really excited about what Kentucky to the World has done. Growth of our speaker series led to a television broadcasting agreement with KET, which you know means that we can bring our speaker series into the homes of the largest PBS network in the United States, which is, we're really proud of that, and I'm going to tell you about the next coming up program as well before we finish. We also, as our content library grew, we were increasingly resourced with digital assets whose stories cross paths with the goals of other public organizations throughout the state, creating new opportunities for collaboration and towards similar goals. So keep thinking about this now, y'all. You're talking about a creative team of 6 or 7 people, a board of about 18. The creative team meets every Tuesday morning and discusses what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and everybody's on contract. There's no office. So now those of you who know about Kentucky to the World can be, I hope, somewhat amazed at what we've accomplished with not a lot of support. I mean, we have some, but not as much as, of course, we would love. So one of our most exciting recent developments is our new satellite home at the Innovation Campus at the Collaborative Smart Space at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green. We were recruited to be one of the Collaborative Smart Space's first tenants to create alongside other revolutionary and partnerships like the MIT Open Documentary Lab and USC Civic Imagination Project, sharing the region's innovations with the world. As we have grown, we now have 4 board members from Bowling Green, 1 board member from Pikeville, who is the owner of Mountaintop Media, which is their media across that whole part of the state, and 1 from E-Town, and the rest are from Louisville. Our partners in WKU are Buddy Skeen. I don't know how many of you might know Buddy. He is the head of the Innovation Campus. And Sam Ford is the one who is our major partner. And typical Kentucky, right? I met Sam Ford at a derby party, pre-COVID. And he was so excited about what we were doing. He knows how important the narrative is, that we tell the narrative. And so he got hooked with us and has been the one who has created all the activity in Bowling Green for us. I have his bio here, or it's online. I don't want to bore you with it, but I'll just read you a few lines of Sam Ford. Sam works with organizations on innovation approaches, audience engagement, cultural intelligence, and media storytelling strategies. He's the executive director of Accelerate Kentucky and works on various initiatives to connect, inform, and inspire others in support of Kentucky's capacity for innovation. So there's lots more. He's actually got his master's at MIT in cultural media, and his subject was the history of soap opera. He also was the first person, along with a teacher of his, to teach a course on wrestling at WKU, and he also taught a course on wrestling at MIT when he was there for his master's. So as you can see, this is a pretty, out there kind of guy doing really interesting things, and it fits so well with what we are working toward. It's not your usual, that is for sure. Let's see if I can turn this. Okay. So, what you've missed? You've missed some of our great programs. And if you had come to our past programs, you could have seen our state's only living Nobel Prize winner, or heard lively discussion about Kentucky state song, history set to music, or heard from U of L legends on civil rights and basketball history, just to name a few. On our website, you can see all of our past speakers, and that's pretty exciting. So we would love to, of course, tell you a little bit about that. So that's how I'm going to spend the next few minutes. I'm watching my time, I think. You all tell me. Okay, here we go. Phil Sharp, our only living Nobel Prize winner. Phil Sharp grew up in a small town on a farm in northern Kentucky. He went to a very small Methodist college and then went on from there. He split the Nobel Prize in '93 for splitting RNA. He is a founder of Biogen. He has built his name for him at MIT. When we were having Phil, we wanted to have him in an audience of regular people, not just science. And so we had Jenny Laidman, who is a science journalist, do the conversation with Phil. And Tommy came to me at that time, we were already working together, and said, hey, would you pay for Will and me to go up to MIT and interview Phil in his labs and take a lot of video of MIT and his buildings, etc. And it was fantastic, and that is what started the really amount of content that we have. We have a ton of content. Small pieces, medium-sized pieces, hour-long pieces. We share them with schools, with organizations that might want to use it, Metro Parks and Recreation Centers use some of our videos to inspire their kids and to come here after school. And so we are really excited about everything that we do with our video content. COVID was good for us because we didn't have an office. We were about to get an office downtown. We were about to do all these things that would cost us a lot of money. And with COVID, we were able to keep going with all of our visual content and do actually programs online with Dana Kennedy, for example, who was the head of the Pulitzers, who came from outside of Lexington, who's a graduate of UK, who had a movie, Journal for Jordan, that she was out last Christmas time. So, we were able to do things digitally as well, which we were really excited about. Okay, onward. State of Song. When we did the program, and I have Phil's bio, by the way, if anybody wants to see it. I'm not going to bore you with it, it's really long. State of Song was the first integrated program we did, where we had 4 people. We had Hannah Drake with the spoken word, we had Emily with her book, and we had Ben Soleil, and we had Harry Pickens. And they integrated all of the discussion about the problems with our old Kentucky home. It was fantastic. It is streaming on KET. So, it was a combination of live music, historical deep dive, spoken word poetry. I mean, again, we're doing this with a really small organization that's very excited about what we do. The last one I'm going to share with you, because I bet most of you missed all of these, right? So we had Kentucky to the World do basketball and brotherhood, breaking barriers. And the idea of that came from Jessica Loving, who was working on a documentary of the same name. And the idea was to take the people who originally integrated basketball at U of L in 1962. 2 of the 3 are still alive, Wade Houston and Eddie Whitehead. And we also had Valerie Combs, who was the first woman to get a full scholarship for basketball. And then, of course, you all know Judge Derwin Webb. We had an incredible conversation because it was not all about basketball. It was really about civil rights and their experiences and what happened from the time in 1962 that they came here. What happened to them? Where did they all were very successful, as you know. So, something went right for them, although life was really tough. And if you heard some of the interviews of Wade, you could hear him talk about how difficult it was growing up as one of the first people to integrate the basketball team in Louisville. So, next. We want you to join with us. This program here was The Future of Food is Female, and it was the last program Kentucky to the World did before COVID. On March the 2nd, Madeline Abramson always tells me that was the last bit of fun she had before COVID started. So, whether you're a business person concerned about recruitment and retention of world-class talent, a citizen getting a bad rap, a student wondering how to grab onto the dreams they have for the future, or someone who's just not sure if Kentuckians have what it takes to compete on the world stage, this is your organization. We believe in Kentucky, and we're proving our excellence to the world, and we hope that you will join with us as well. This is for you. I'm not supposed to read from my slides, so we don't have anything on the slides, but I have it here. So, our goal is to inspire talented people from beyond our borders to find their futures here. KTW's new home in Bowling Green will also allow us to showcase the vibrance of Bowling Green's community, economy, and workforce. From Paducah to Pikeville, this is from Sam Ford. Kentucky is filled with inspiring stories of innovation and resilience. In our communities, we must invest in, this is the key here, economic development, workforce development, and community development. But investing in narrative development is the vital 4th leg of the table. And that is what inspired Sam to get involved with Kentucky to the World. As we look to the future of Kentucky to the World, the connections we have made at the Innovation Campus, here in Louisville and beyond, about the alignment of our goals, we look forward to rolling out some exciting collaborative efforts. Nothing shapes the possibilities we dream and the solutions we discover quite like stories. And who better to help us tell the story of the future of Kentucky than individuals who are striving to make this happen in our Commonwealth and around the world. And I want you all to stay tuned. KET, March 17th at 3 p.m. There will be the airing of our most recent program, Carol Wyatt, 35 Years of Animation and Film. And for those of you who were not aware, Carol Wyatt is Wilson Wyatt's granddaughter, Wilson Wyatt Sr. And so that's our next upcoming KET, and I thank you all for your time.
Time for questions. I got a quick question, actually. Rick Smith, he said grew up a block or so from you.
He built a block from my grandfather, 7th and Oak.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, there's a Rick Smith, also African American in our club. Right here. Is any, there he is. Any relation? I know it's a common name. How's your new job going, Rick? Good.
Questions, anybody?
Thank you, Shelly, for your talk. Saw the crowd there when you see a cousin is doing the remarkable things that you are, and we thank you for it. So I actually have two questions, and you can answer either one of these, in the order that you want. But one is, I know you're not a native Kentuckian, right?
Right.
Yeah, you went to school in Michigan, and it's been a good year. Pretty good year for football. But my question is, so not being a native Kentuckian, what inspired you to take on this project? I mean, was there an epiphany or something that caused you to get so passionate about it?
Well, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and in a small steel town, and my husband and I met at the University of Michigan. He is a retired OBGYN, and we came back here. And it was pretty grim at the time, I have to say, because we weren't getting, a lot of outside people coming in. It was very insular and sort of cliquey, to say the least. And so I just sort of did my thing. That's when I really got into the quilt thing and, have lectured and all that all around the world, really. And so with this, and that was a natural trajectory, actually. People say, how did you get from quilts to Kentucky to the world? And really, it's all about the stories. And so the quilts are all about the stories. And so when I heard these stories coming to me from Amy, it just ignited my interest in doing something like this. So I felt like it was really a natural thing that happened. But people ask me that all the time. Your husband's from here and you're not, But I love Kentucky. I want people to think better of, and they're doing more and more better, lots better in lots of areas, but we have a long way to go. And so this is a really exciting way to try to make a difference.
Now, this question might be a little more difficult to answer. You're going to have to be a little diplomatic because people are passionate on both sides of this issue, but I'm really curious about the program's State of Song and what the dialogue was. And, I listen to my old Kentucky home and I think about that. To me, I wonder if it's still appropriate, but I just wonder how the discussion went.
Well, I think that it is streaming on KET, and so you can see it on KET. And also, we did a really great student program with that. And so we had anybody who wanted to send in words to a word cloud. And so the word cloud had some questions that you had a one-word answer about Kentucky. And then that word cloud was all put up into like a visual map of Kentucky. And Hannah Drake then created the poem about her feelings about the State of Song that she read at the event. And we subsequently, Tommy, you can tell them, we did a studio recording of Hannah's poem, so we have that we can share and distribute. I'm afraid I can't give you all of what happened with that, but it started out with Harry Pickens playing the piano, and he was playing different ways to play My Old Kentucky Home, just little pieces. And then he said, the music is great, but the words aren't. And that's how the program started. And so it went from there, you recall more, Tommy? It went from there to this discussion among all of them, with Ben playing some, and with Hannah speaking, and with Emily referring to her book and having some, slides up for us to look at it all. I'm afraid that I don't remember the whole program, but if you go on KET, you can see it.
Thank you so much. My name is Larry Sloan. I'm a retired manufacturer's representative, and I sold art supplies and craft supplies to various stores, including clothes stores around the country. And I saw a representative company called Leisure Arts, which was a big picture of quilting, quilts, and all these quilt patterns. And I think people may not realize that quilting is a truly American craft that started in Appalachia, and it's spread all over the world now. It's popular everywhere. Japan, Australia, you name the country, there are people that are quilting. So my question is, what is your favorite quilt pattern, or maybe the top 3?
Well, first of all, I don't want to cause any difficulty here, but quilts were not started in America. There really was quilting in lots of European countries well before the idea of quilting came to this country. One of the projects I was involved in was the hexagon as an international style. We think about the hexagon in the six-sided, my grandma's fire garden, but really, truly, the hexagon as a style of quilt started in the late 1700s in places mostly in England, but places that you would not imagine. And we had this exhibit in France that looked at the different countries and their documented, that's what I was trying to get to, is the documented hexagon quilts. So it didn't just start here. And so that was one thing. And then you asked me about a quilt pattern. I guess I have to say a New York Beauty or a Crown of Thorns, because that was the first quilt I bought out of a house when I was just starting this whole idea of, I'm going to buy and sell some quilts, because Bruce Mann had passed away, and I'm curious about everything. So the first house that I could go to buy a quilt, it was this amazing New York Beauty, which is like crowns with long spiky things. And so once I bought that, I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be easy. Wrong. I don't think I ever found a quilt as amazing as that one.
Well, just a follow-up factoid. I was told one time by an astrophysicist who was into quilts that quilts and patterns can be in triangles, they can be in shapes of stars, they can be in shapes of hexagons, as you mentioned, but you can't get a pattern where a pentagon touches all of its sides like a hexagon.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I want to tell you one closing thing, and that is that Ken Burns is a major quilt club. He has an entire building that he built just for his quilt collection. And he has only exhibited it really once at the International Quilt Center in Nebraska. But I didn't know if you all were aware that quilts are his passion for collecting.
Do you also emphasize, or educate the historical firsts in our country? Like we're the only state where we have a Supreme Court Justice, John Marshall Harlan, and his grandson were both Supreme Court justices. Kentucky can claim that. No one else in this country has done that. Or the first poet, Nora, and like Robert Pitmore. We've had so many outstanding Americans that have come from Kentucky. Do you integrate that in
I don't think we've done done that officially, but we are starting now fun facts, and that would be on our social media, and that would be great. We really should make more of an effort on that. You're absolutely right. Thank you.
Another justice that maybe you don't realize, Justice Brandeis is from Louisville. He lived in the home where Christy Brown now lives, so he's got roots in Louisville.
And talking about Justice Brandeis and Laura Rothstein, who is the Pasadena of the Law School, Kentucky to the World is the fiscal agent, this is new news, for a documentary on street law, which is a national program that started at Georgetown, and it is going to, and she brought it to Central High School. And so there's a documentary that we're involved in on street law at Central High School. And Tommy is actually doing a lot of the video work for the producers who are, he's a nephew of Mitch Albom. So Mitch Albom is involved in all this as well. Tommy was just in Haiti.
It was Tuesdays with Maury, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tuesdays with Maury, 5 to 7 in heaven.
Any other questions? Well, thanks, Shelly. By the way, you remember, she mentioned Hannah Drake, who was the one who did the presentation, I wouldn't call it presentation, but did the program on my old Kentucky home. She spoke, you may recall, at the one of the last speakers at the Women's Club. She was passionate. That's the same one that came to the program. She's really excited. She's involved in the Festival of Faith pretty substantially also. So thanks for joining us today. Next week, Mayor Greenberg's 2024 State of the City address is going to be at the new LMPD Summit Wellness Center. And it's sold out, so if you want to get tickets there, you've got to go to Scalpers. They're a little more expensive on the resale market, by the way. We had to cut registration with 330 people. Good thing we have a good big place there, but 330 people who sold it out. If you didn't get to register, would like to join the waiting list, let Tracy or Deline know. It'll also be streamed live on Metro TV. But guests, please join Jay Mallard over in the corner there for the brief overview of our club. And thanks for a great meeting. Appreciate it.
All right.